I am MFR Pau, and this is Joy News Prime. In our headlines tonight, as tension between chiefs of Efutu and Gomwa escalate over a potential land dispute, bipartisan group of MPs in Parliament is moving to quell a potential conflict. Details as they establish a bipartisan committee to investigate and resolve the concerns of both factions. NPP Vetting Committee dismisses claims it has disqualified some aspirant in the flag bearer race. It describes the reports as speculations. And we will not accept coup after coup in West Africa again. New Ecowas Chairman President Tinubu of Nigeria vows to end coup d'etats in the sub-region. Many thanks for your company. Remember, we're on all those social media platforms. You can follow us on myjoyonline.com. In our very first story, a bipartisan group of MPs and some MCEs are calling for calm as the land dispute involving the chiefs of Efutu and Gomwa continues to deteriorate. There's been counter-accusations of encroachment of land between the two traditional authorities in the central region. Well, as the tensions between the two traditional authorities escalate, Deputy Majority Leader Alexander Fenyomakin was leading the group of political leaders, says no one will be allowed to take any land that rightfully belongs to any traditional authority.
As representatives of our constituents and advocate for peace and stability, we stand united in our unwavering commitment to resolving this issue and safeguarding the ancestral lands of all chiefs within our jurisdiction. At a joint meeting held yesterday, attended by all of us here present, we carefully considered the concerns surrounding the aforementioned land dispute and recognized the necessity for proactive measures to address the challenges at hand. To ensure a fair and comprehensive resolution, we emphasize the importance of engaging with all relevant chiefs and opinion leaders, fostering an environment of constructive dialogue and mutual understanding. Throughout this process, we remain dedicated to conducting ourselves with the highest level of integrity, treating all parties involved or affected with fairness and respect, acknowledging the significance of transparency and impartiality. We strive to protect rights and reputations of all individuals throughout the resolution process. Furthermore, and to urgently alleviate rising tensions and promote a peaceful environment, we acknowledge the importance of engaging with paramount chiefs, along with relevant government bodies such as the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, Ministry of Local Government, and Ministry of Interior. By involving these stakeholders, we aim to comprehensively address administrative and traditional boundary issues, fostering a coordinated effort towards lasting solution. We will actively engage with other relevant stakeholders, including the Lands Commission, potential estate developers, and leaders of businesses within the affected areas.
Ms. Afenyomakin also announced the formation of a bipartisan committee to investigate the concerns of the chiefs.
This issue transcends partisan affiliations, requiring a united approach from all political leaders. With this in mind, we intend to establish a bipartisan committee dedicated to thoroughly investigating the underlying concerns, ensuring an impartial and comprehensive approach to resolving the dispute. As political leaders, we hold the responsibility of preserving the cultural heritage and security of our communities. We assure the chiefs within our respective areas that we will utilize our influence and authority to protect their ancestral lands from any unjust encroachment. Our commitment to maintaining peace, unity, and the well-being of our constituents remains steadfast and paramount. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, our joint position is clear. No one, including ourselves or any other individual, will be used to take away the lands of any chief. I repeat, no one, including ourselves or any other individual, will be used to take away the lands of any chief. We are steadfast in our commitment to protecting their interests and preserving the rich heritage of our communities. We extend our assurances to the chiefs that they should remain calm and that we will utilize our influence, authority, and the appropriate government bodies to ensure that their ancestral lands are safeguarded from any unjust encroachment. Our dedication to maintaining peace, unity, and the well-being of our constituents remain sacrosanct and unwavering. Together, let us embark on this journey towards a just and equitable resolution. We call upon all stakeholders, community members, and citizens to join us in fostering an environment of peace, respect, and cooperation.
Let's get some more perspective on this. So we've been joined on the phone lines by one of the foremost land law experts in the country, and he's also a law lecturer, lawyer Kwame John. We are grateful for your time here on Joy News Prime. So I know your vast knowledge in this particular area, but first let's explore the bipartisan, committee that's been put together by political leaders to interfere or take a look at this matter. Will that be the way to go?
Yes and no. Yes, because, the MPs and the DCEs in the affected areas must show some, at least signals, that they are interested. So if for no reason at all, they have spoken about this matter. And my position is that it's come too late. This is not a new matter. I have been following the issues in that area for more than 20 years now. And the main reasons why that area is unstable dates back to the period before independence. And after independence, the government of the day, the CPP government, under the first president of the Republic, Dr. Kwame John, promulgated legislation which vested the lands within 1 mile radius of the Winneba runabout and all the lands in Winneba town in the president. What that means is that no traditional authority had the power to allocate land within that enclave. And it was because the Efutus, the Ewutus, the Gomues, and the Agunes were fighting over their boundaries. So what happened from 1961, when these lands were vested in the president, till now, we have not done anything to understand the underlying causes of the conflict, and we have not done anything to solve the conflict. In the last about 10 years, that area has been very violent. Maimings and killings, land guards, they attacked a salt factory, they attacked schools, they have attacked individuals, they have attacked everybody. Mm-hmm. So, MFA, why is it that now it is an issue? Mm-hmm. I mean, the silence on this matter has been very counterproductive. But MFA, this is not the only situation we have on our hands.
Exactly, because just in that area, Mr. Kwame John, the issue about Fete and Fete Kakraba also coming up. Now we have this Gomwa and a Futu situation on our hands. The security that's supposed to be handling this particular matter, in spite of court ruling and court orders, you say that the issue still persists. Is it a situation that we are able to bring under control at some point?
You see, under normal circumstances, one would have thought that the court process would have brought some finality to this. Mm-hmm. But we have also come to realize, MFA, that court processes normally don't bring finality to land matters. Mm. Because there is so much sentimental attachment to land. And it becomes like a source of fire, whether to say yes or no to a judgment. And then, in our Constitution, under Article 107 of the Constitution, even Parliament does not have power to change judgments pronounced by the courts.
Then what will be the exercise, with this exercise you say be in futility, then knowing that these bipartisan committee from Parliament, will they be able to resolve it?
They will not be able to resolve it. And you know, MFA, when we worked on the Land Act, we put a provision in Chapter 8 relating to what to do with all those vested lands. Mm-hmm. And I know that there is a committee which was set up by the Minister for Lands, because the Land Act says within 6 months of the promulgation of the Land Act, the Lands Commission should facilitate a study to find out about the status of these Western lands and to make recommendations to the President as to how to handle these things. I know a committee was set up by the Minister for Lands under the chairmanship of Honorable Andy Kubi. And it was inaugurated with fanfare and pomp and pageantry. I don't know what they have done.
Mm-hmm. Well, interesting. But in all your dealings, though, at least with this particular one, finally, before I let you off, is it surprising that we'll have 2 big traditional authorities, Gomwa, Efutu, fighting over a piece of land?
Yes, MFA, it's not surprising. Many years ago, when we were working in the land administration project, we wanted to conduct an exercise to demarcate the boundaries of these large landowners. But we had resistance from them, from the landowners themselves. Because it appears, MFA, that the landowners don't want the boundaries to be determined.
Why?
Because they also feed on the troubles. You know, it is when they are being engulfed by their opponents that they run. You know, so you remember the last couple of weeks, we've all been talking about land guards and land guards. Land disputes between traditional owners does not turn into violent confrontations if land guard influences are not brought to bear on these things.
Okay.
Because left the Hutus and the Hutus and the Agonas, yes, they have land boundary issues, but they've lived in peace. They've lived in peace. So if we can take out the land guards, then we will create a congenial environment for these traditional people to use tradition. And with some prompting and support by MPs and so on, we can use the system to bring some relief to these people.
Okay.
But we have to deal with the land guard part, which is a security issue.
Okay. Well, we'll leave it here for now. Thank you so much, Lawyer Kwame John. Always a delight interacting with you on these issues. So, well, he's been talking about that bipartisan committee set up by Parliament to deal with the issue when it comes to the Gomwa and, of course, a Futu traditional area conflict or potential conflict that is looming when it comes to some land there. But this is an issue that will continue to follow for you. There's more on myjoyonline.com. But next door, let's head to Wager now, and residents of Wager and Motor who use the Accra Takoradi Highway are angry about the seeming lack of action by city authorities to immediately stop the perennial flooding of sections of the road. Anytime it rains, part of the major highway, which links Cape Coast, Takoradi and neighboring La Côte d'Ivoire, become impassable as it is covered with rainwater and sand washed down from the hills in the area. Commuters have to spend many hours in traffic before getting to their destination. Maxo Agbaba has the latest as we continue our Flats of Trauma series.
It is just minutes after torrential rains here in the Greater Accra region. The usual chaotic scene is back on the Wager Atala section and the area close to the toll booth on the Accra Takoradi Highway. Parts of the road is flooded again. Here, I've met a truck driver, Issa Halidu. He slept in his car overnight after his truck got stuck in the silt on the road.
We said that we should park small and wait. Other the rain will cut off, then we move. After 30 minutes, just then happened. Wow. After that, we will come back to remove all these things.
The issue is a big one, but as I'm saying, since we cannot focus on everything.
I have now met a concerned resident, Nana Kwesi Jana Pentin. He's always on the edge anytime he's not at home and there are signs of rain. He's befuddled how a major road like the Accra Takoradi Highway will be left to get flooded anytime it rains without any intervention from city authorities.
The experiences people go through here are just horrid. When it rains a little, it just has to drizzle. It brings huge traffic, but that is just the beginning. That traffic, even after the rain, continues because there's a pile of sand that comes from up the hill, because the problem is that clearly, I'm not an expert, but you don't have to be an expert to see that it's a very unstable kind of area in terms of the soil and the land and everything. So every time it rains, there's this huge erosion, and it brings boulders and rocks and gravel and everything, and it takes weeks to clear. So what we suffer on the day of the rain is just the beginning of the story. What is worse is that what people probably don't realize is that this is not a local, just a local issue, a local problem. This road that we are talking about serves as the entry point to Central Region, of course, to the Western Region, to Western North, and of course to Côte d'Ivoire and beyond. And a lot of the economic wealth of this country passes through here to Takoradi Highway and all other places. But also remember tourism. We've made the Central Region for now the hub of our tourism industry, especially because of the castles and all that. And you do that and still people can't have access and go there. Go to a point where this year, if we don't do anything about it, there will be a complete cut-off. And those people, and those of us who live here will simply, for days, cannot move anywhere.
Nana Kwesi Jana Pentin wants authorities to deal with the problem. Nana is not the only person concerned about the situation. Stephen Odum's pharmacy is very close to the highway and says the flooding of the area is an age-old problem. He says he has lost medication worth thousands of Ghana cedis as a result of the flood.
Well, when it's raining, the place is very terrible. You can't get access to the road. And when it happens like that, virtually there's no business for us here. I mean, people can access our pharmacy. Sometimes the rain even gets to the pharmacy, which is very terrible. And it's a problem that has been there for years. I mean, I've been here for about 13 years, and the problem was there since, and nothing has so far been done about it. It's a big problem for us. It entered my pharmacy, and then some items were destroyed. Oh yes, when it's getting to that time, we have to be prepared. We have to really get prepared. Otherwise, something bad will happen. So we have to make sure that our staffs are on tables and stuff like that, so that when we are not here and it rains, it doesn't damage our staff.
Municipal Roads Engineer for the Gassaut Municipal Assembly, Daniel Sowa, says the perennial flooding and dumping of silt on the Weija-Tala section and the area close to the Weija toll booth go beyond the assembly, and that the Municipal Assembly cannot be blamed.
We realized that, the hill over there has been taken off, the vegetation has been taken off. And because every time it rains, the downpour from the top of the hill washes the sand and put it on the road, which cause a lot of difficulties to the traveling public. But you realize that this has been a problem that has been there for years, where a material was taken from there to construct certain roads in certain parts of Accra. And after that, we need to reinstate what was taken away by way of having the vegetation to come on. Today, as I'm talking to you right now, the issue is like the Municipal Assembly has given permit for people to build over there. There's no build. When you go up there, you saw there's some building down there, but those ones, there's none of them that consider they have permit to build over there. They are all living there, illegally. And because of the situation has persisted, anytime it rains, the sun, the sun washes from that place and gets to the road. There has been several interventions from several quarters, I remember the last time the road minister came here, we went up there to have a look at the situation. And the committee was formed to, bring solution to this. A report was given. Up to today, we are just waiting. If we are now about to implement the report, we'll be waiting. But nothing has been done. And anytime it rains, the blame put at the doorstep of assembly, which the assembly doesn't have a hand in whatever is happening over there. We have spent several, monies to get those works done and to clear those activities from there. In any case, that particular stretch of the road belongs to Ghana Highway Authority. There are 3 agencies that work within Ghana. Ghana Highway Authority, Department of Urban Roads, and the Department of Federal Roads. And, the roads that link between 2 towns are managed by Ghana Highway Authority.
That's in our Floods of Trauma series. Look out for the next edition. Well, the National Commission on Civic Education is embarking on a violent extremism prevention education in the Upper West region. Speakers at the forum urged Ghanaians to be more vigilant and report suspicious characters to the security agencies. The program is funded by the European Union, and Rafiq Salam has more from WA.
Ghana is considered to be an oasis of peace and stability and a beacon of hope in a sub-region that has some of its countries overtaken by extremist or jihadist groups. The presence and operations of these terrorists and violent extremists in these countries poses a threat and great danger to security in the country. The National Commission on Civic Education, NCCE, with funding from the European Union, launched a Preventing and Containing Violent Extremism PCVE program in 5 regions in the northern belt of the country and 3 adjoining regions, namely Oti, Bono and Bono East regions. For the past few weeks, the Upper West Regions Office of the NCCE has been busy sensitizing and educating various identifiable groups, including students from tertiary institutions in the region, on the PCVE program. Addressing students at the National Jan Ahmadiyya College of Education, Acting Commission Secretary of the NCCE, lawyer Lucille Helet Anan, urged the students to be vigilant and report suspicious characters to the police.
So please, when you are in your community, be vigilant. Know what is going on in your community. If you see a strange person, please, at least if you see a strange car hovering around, all you can do is take the car number. So please, there are bad people. Like I told you, there can be violent extremists without terrorism. There are bad people in our community who will come to our community to kidnap children, to kidnap boys for rituals. And so it behoves on you to survey your community. And when you see strange people, say something. If you see something, say something.
Let's now focus on the sub-region from NCC, and we know that Nigeria's president and new chairman of Ecowas, Bola Tinubu, has issued a resolute declaration. Coup d'etats will no longer be tolerated in West Africa. Highlighting the region's unwavering stance, he emphasized the regional body will vehemently oppose any attempt to overthrow legitimate government. While acknowledging the challenges of democracy, President Tinubu remained it is the most effective system of governance. The Nigerian president was speaking at the 63rd ordinary session of the Authority of Heads of State and Government in Bissau, that Guinea-Bissau, where he has assumed the Ecowas chairmanship from Guinea-Bissau's President Umaru Sissoco Embalo.
We will not allow coup after coup. West Africa. We will not allow coup after coup. West Africa separation. We will take this up seriously with African Union and it's to the European Union and Britain and America. Take it up. It's a challenge. Yes, democracy is very tough to manage, but it's the best form of government. And we also ascribe to it. We must.
That's Ecowas Chair and the very new elected Bola Tinubu. Let's dissect the speech and appreciate what Bola Tinubu's chairmanship means for the region. Thankfully, I have been joined via Zoom, Nigerian Public Affairs Analyst Abdulaziz Bashir Agbedoyega. Thank you so much for your time here on the Joy News Prime. So let's talk about first Nigerians and your reaction to the news about Bola Tinubu becoming Ecowas Chair.
Thank you very much for having me. Am I audible enough?
Very audible, thank you.
All right, thank you very much for having me. So, on the issue of the president of Nigeria being the Ecowas chairman, it has elicited a lot of reaction from our people, most importantly on social media. People have been reacting, and most importantly, given the speech of the president yesterday, people have been showing excitement that the president is showing courage, is showing determination, and is showing commitment towards the African goals. So I think this is the reaction of our people as of now.
Well, as a public affairs analyst yourself, though, let's talk about the promise that he makes, an end to coup d'etats in West Africa and serving notice to all those who would be wanting to perpetrate such acts. Really, what do you make of this particular promise?
As we all know, that coup d'etat, military takeover, or any form of military aggression against civilian rule is akin to disrupting the democratic system of any country. So it is very important that the president, being the Ecowas chairman, needs to sound a note of warning to anybody who is trying to make a move of such, because it will disrupt democratic practice, democratic system. So, and whatever this means beyond some West African state, it will have an effect on Nigeria as a country, because Nigeria borders many of these West African states, talking of Niger Republic, talking of Cameroon, talking of Benin Republic. So Nigeria borders some of these states. So, and of course, any coup d'etat that happens in any of these countries, it will affect Nigeria's economy. It will affect Nigerian trade and investment. So for this kind of thing, the president needs to, having taken that leadership, he needs to sign those notes of warning for the interest of the ECOWAS community. But
beyond serving a note of warning, for instance, and knowing the situation that exists in some countries as we speak, Burkina Faso, amongst others, really, does he give the confidence that the situation that persists now will be dealt with in order to prevent other happenings in other countries in terms of these coup d'etats?
Exactly.
It appears I'm unable to hear you, Abdulaziz. Okay, it appears I've just lost Abdulaziz there. We're unable to hear him, but these are the concerns that we're hoping we could address also with security analyst Dr. Kwesieni, Professor Kwesieni, I should say. Once we have him also, we'll get to clear that with him. Okay, thankfully, we have Professor Kwesieni joining us via phone. Thank you so much for your time here on Joy News Prime, because there are concerns about the capacity of the immediate past chair to rally his fellow heads of state to effectively deal with the growing threats posed by jihadists in Mali and Burkina Faso, amongst others. But first, though, I would want to hear your views, Professor Kwesieni, on Bola Tinubu rising to become ECOWAS chair. What really are your initial thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's not very surprising. I mean, Nigeria is the absolute hegemon. It pays most of ECOWAS's bills. It's shown historically that it's willing and prepared to put troops and the money and the logistics on the ground. And I think when Nigeria leads, and particularly with a new president who first has demonstrated capacity to deal with some of the very difficult domestic issues, then when he talks about regional challenges, then one wants to give you a certain leeway. But the fascinating thing about Tinubu's speech was that he wants to bring ECOWAS back to its core business, economic development, growth, and ensuring that the original integration idea that made our heads of state come together in 1975 becomes the fulcrum around which the ECOWAS, project is driven. But he recognized that jihadism, violent extremism, the spread of small arms and light weapons, but not least the coup d'etat will derail that vision. Where I think he needs to focus on with respect to his peers is that West Africa's president must adhere to the ECOWAS and African Union instruments that they have signed on to related to democracy, good governance, transparency, accountability, rule of law, and the respect for human rights. The challenge is not from the jihadists. The real challenge to West Africa is the uncertainty as to whether the elite will play the democratic game according to the rules. Therein lies the biggest challenge.
Okay, but Prof, some have raised the issues about this particular vow and how Bola Tinubu should be taken seriously, considering the current state of ECOWAS and his own home security issues. Do you think that is a vow that he's able to keep?
I think so. Because, you see, there has been some transformational institutional developments within ECOWAS, not least the appointment of the new PAS, the Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security, Dr. Abdel Fattah Muslim, who has a tradition from ECOWAS to the Economic Commission of Africa, heading the Africa 2 office in New York, and coming back as PAS with a tradition for speaking truth to power and being driven by bringing the best and the brightest around him to generate the buy-in, the sustainability, the credibility, and the drive to ensure that the ECOWAS agenda is full. So I am hopeful. You also mentioned the domestic agendas that Mr. Tinubu is struggling with.
Exactly.
So, Mr. Tinubu has made certain decisions in the last 2 months that other presidents have not been able to make in 30 years, removing the fuel subsidies, making sure that he unites, the multiple foreign exchange rates, to ensure that the naira finds its value. These are not decisions taken by a weak president. He's also revamped the very top of the security infrastructure and began negotiations with some of the very difficult, not particularly pleasant people in the Niger Delta who have consistently contributed to the insecurity.
Okay.
So I think in terms of the first 8 to 10 weeks of his performance, one would need to give him the benefit of the doubt. But as civil society and as academics and also as media, we've got to continuously hold him to his promise.
Okay. And then, Prof, briefly, the current situation that pertains, we know in Mali, Burkina Faso, Guinea, what would you say should be the approach of ECOWAS? Because he says it's going to prevent more of these coup d'etats from happening, but we know the situations in these countries that I've outlined. Should the approach from ECOWAS be that of diplomacy, or we look at force in terms of the use of military?
Oh, no. Both carrot and stick. The failure to deepen democracy on the sub-region comes not from the military. It comes from the political class who have failed consistently to spread the benefits of democratic government. The reversals that we are seeing, leading to coup d'etat, leading to the spread of small arms and light weapons, leading to the spread of jihadism, are all a failure of democratic governance and economic governance.
Okay.
So ECOWAS needs a carrot and stick approach, and we will get there.
Okay, we'll see how it goes, because the carrot and stick approach you talk about is what we've been using for some time now, and it appears that has it. Okay.
No. When Burkina Faso and Mali collapsed, the first thing ECOWAS did was to raise a big stick, and they failed. And that failure is what led Mali and other countries to invite the Wagner Group. We ought to have engaged in a diplomatic process in which we ought to have said, look, President Conte of Guinea, you've stolen enough. Stop it. We ought to have told the Malian president, stop it. We ought to have told the Burkinabe, Kabori, stop it. What Tinubu, I think, is trying to do is that he has the gumption and the strength to talk to his peers.
You seem to have a lot of confidence in his ability to do that, don't you?
I'm an old man. I can't risk failure. Okay, but that process of not risking failure is that we need to engage this president, speak truth to power, hold them to the fire, and demand that the promises that he's giving, that they help us to attain those goals. More often than not, we sat on the sidelines, kept quiet, clapped, because those in power are our ethnic affiliates. That must stop. It is the national interest that must be the fulcrum around which democracy, good governance, rule of law, and respect for human rights revolve.
Professor Kwesieni, thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us here on Joy News Prime. Taking us on a quick break. Remember, when we return, we have more here on the Joy News Prime. We're also live on myjoyonline.com. Please do stay with us. A quick turnaround and we're right back. You're welcome back to Joy News Prime. Now, a new polling data from Global Info Analytics has shown that Asin North MP James Gyakye benefited massively from claims that he was being persecuted by government. According to the research by the polling organization, despite both parties engaging in vote buying, most of the electorates voted for James Gyakye, including those who had been induced by the governing NPP. Our research desk has broken down the data for us. Let's start with the influence that the road projects, the many road projects had on the voters. So what you see on the screen, we have the green, which says that it made me vote for the government. That's 37% of people say the road projects made them vote for, the candidate that they voted for. Also, 46% says it made me vote against the government. This road project made them vote against Charles Opoku, who was the candidate for the Asin North by-election. Those who remain neutral in this, it looks like the road project did not really influence anything. That's 17% of these voters making up, the neutral. And then also this big chart you see there, the green portion talks about the 96% that gave us evidence of vote buying. I'm talking about the Info Analytics, those they interacted with. We're told about 543 respondents in the Asin North constituency. And they maintain 96%, the green big pie that you see on the screen, say that they give evidence of vote buying. The 4% said that no, there was no evidence of vote buying. They did not see that. Now, a huge chunk, another chunk of that small, the 4% now increases to 8%. They are saying that they are beneficiaries of the vote buying in Asin North. There's an exit poll that was conducted. And 92%, are giving evidence that they're actually beneficiaries of vote buying in Asin North that influenced their votes in that by-election at Asin North. Now we move on. What you see now is the inducement by the various political parties. So obviously, the blue, which makes 15%, is the NPP. And then NDC, which is the green, gives 13%. Well, what you see, the purple long chart, which is 72%, is about both parties inducing. So it's not just the NPP or NDC, like we've been hearing both parties accuse each other, some saying that it's the NDC that engaged in vote buying, others say it's the NPP that did. So this is the poll that we're getting from Global Info Analytics. 72% say both parties actually engage in vote buying. Now let's take a look at the vote buying and how it impacted on the election itself and how they voted. So this sandwich of a sort of a chart that you see, for James Jachikwesin, they say that they are NPP people, they got monies, at least they got some, they were influenced by votes, but 42% of those who got whatever was given to them as part of influencing them to vote, 42% voted for James Jachikwesin. And then NDC people that also took money, which is the sandwich in between the green that you see, 73% said even though they got monies, they were influenced to vote, they still voted for James Jachikwesin. And then 61%, which is supposed to be for, they also voted for James Jachikwesin. And is the other way around also for Charles Opoku, who is in the middle. 53% say even though they got it, at least, the NPP persons, at least those who were influenced, voted for him. 27% of NDC people who also influenced voted for Charles Opoku, and then 39% of them, both parties, they voted in that regard. So this is how they voted in Asin North. And then you saw that 0% of those who were influenced actually voted for the other candidate, which is the LPG candidate, Senam. So this is how Asin North voted. And this is the latest exit poll from Global Info Analytics. They initially mentioned that Charles Opoku was going to win. Now they've been finding out why they went wrong in terms of their earlier polls. And this is what they found. There was vote buying indeed in Asin North. And I'm sure the political watchers are working on this. This is an issue that many have raised concerns about in terms of vote buying, asking the special prosecutor, amongst others, to take a look at it. When will vote buying in our elections or politicking end? It remains to be seen. And that's the situation with that. We move on to some other stories here on Joy News Prime.